So suffer me this. With the NBA Finals being back in my hometown of Oklahoma City, it's just made me flash back, made me think several times over the last week about a man I can't get out of my psyche, out of my memory, Mr. White. He just flashes into my head. Now I'll probably dream about him tonight. Mr. White was a counselor at the junior high I went to called Taft Junior High School, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 23rd and May Avenue. Mr. White was also my angel of death when it came to my short-lived basketball career. But the point I would like to make is that even though Oklahoma has always long been viewed as a football state, a la Texas, listen, when I was growing up, basketball was huge in Oklahoma. It rivaled football in hugeness. Maybe it wasn't Indiana crazy, small town crazy, but it was huge. And even though baseball always came easiest for me, it was by far my best sport in high school. I was a pretty good high school baseball player, made all-region after my senior year. I fell deepest in love with basketball. Still, dearest to my heart was basketball. So, as I've mentioned, I came from a broken home. I was the oldest. I didn't have any sort of parental guidance. My father thought sports were just a waste of time. So I did attend Epworth Methodist Church, and it did have a boys basketball team. So when I was in 5th grade, the 6th graders on the team asked me to come out and play for the team. So I'm a year behind, but I was tall for my age. We had a pretty good team. I can remember everybody on the team. Royce Allen, Dick Daniels, tall kid named Tommy. But the point was that right away, I just knew I could play basketball better than the 6th graders could play basketball. I spent hours in my driveway on the concrete shooting at my rim, my old rim with the messed up net on it, hours and hours shooting baskets. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, wait a second, I'm actually better than they are, and I'm better than a lot of guys on the other teams were. And by 6th grade, I was dominating, and by 7th grade, trust me, I became a church league legend in Oklahoma City because nobody could stop me. 7th grade, I'm averaging 30 points a game in games with a total of only 40 points for the winner. So my team would score 40 and I'd have 30 just about every game. But understand about Taft Junior High School, we didn't even have a football team. It was all about basketball at Taft. It was the biggest junior high in the state because it fed the biggest high school in the state across the street, Northwest Classen High School. We had 700 in each class. So in just 7th and 8th grade, we had 14, maybe even 1,500 kids. It was big. So the games after school in that Taft gymnasium would become events. The biggest events of the year were the basketball home games. So in 8th grade, as fate would have it, I applied for this and got it, but I was the 6th hour gym aide for the new gym teacher who was about to be the new basketball coach named Jay Stevens. We played horse the first day as school ended. I beat him. He was a good shooter. I was better. And he was like, wow. And he started having me stay after school every day. He would take me home. I'd tell my carpool, go on, I got this. And we would shoot hundreds of shots a day after school every day leading up to basketball season. and there was no three-point line. So I'm shooting three-point shots without a three-point line. Don't ask me why, but I could make them. And he loved it. He encouraged it. I was tall. I could run, and I could really jump. In 8th grade, I could dunk. I just couldn't hold on to the basketball. I couldn't palm it enough to get it over the rim, but I could, if you gave me any little ball, tennis ball, any of those little round gym balls, I could dunk those. I just couldn't hold on to the basketball to dunk it. But I had the whole package, and he knew it. And did we ever run and shoot? He was so mesmerized by the talent that my class had, including my friend Bruce Scott, who went on to play at Oklahoma, both golf and basketball. He was an all-stater in high school in both. But we were so good that Jay Stevens even scheduled 3 9th grade teams while we were in 8th grade, and we beat 2 of them at home, Hoover and Classen. My 8th grade year as a basketball player was the greatest year of my life. I always say it. I always believe it. It was just the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. My girlfriend was this hot 9th grader. She was going to the school across the street. I met her at a football game on a Friday night named Gala. I had it all, man. I've mentioned this before, my mother even let me have a motorcycle. My father hated it, but she just didn't want to have to take me anywhere. So I even had my license and mobility. I could go anywhere I wanted in 8th grade at 14 when I got my license. And those games were just such events. The court was on one side of the floor of the gym, so the whole left side was open, and it was standing room only. It would go 10 deep. The noise in that gym was just ear-splitting for our home games. I've just never had more fun. It was the peak time of my life, and I've had a lot of success in my career, but I've never had more fun than that. Our last game was actually at a rival school of ours, John Marshall. I scored 21 in that game, which was my season high. And when Jay Stevens read the box score to the locker room after the game, I got a standing ovation for my 21. And the next day, during lunch hour, I was in what was called at Taft the Sooner Room. It was just an activities room where they had 2 ping pong tables for the kids who didn't like girls, and for the boys who liked girls. We would just sort of congregate in the middle of the Sooner Room because there was a free jukebox that you could just keep pressing songs in, and you could just interact with the girls and flirt with the girls. And the Beatles song 8 Days a Week had just come out. I love that song. If you haven't heard it, you should play it on YouTube. 8 days a week, that we would punch it like 20 straight times. So it would just keep playing on the jukebox 8 days a week by the Beatles. Big hit. And that day I was accepting congratulations for a great season, great finale. And as always, there was a counselor on duty to observe just to make sure no lines were crossed. And Mr. White was often on duty. He was a pretty big guy. I'd give him 6 feet, at least 200 pounds. Looked like he'd been an athlete. He had sort of wavy reddish hair parted on the side, always in a coat and tie. Mr. White had this sort of quiet air of intelligence when he spoke, like he was passing along wisdom you'd only understand much later in life. So just as that lunch hour was ending, true story, Mr. White waved me over and asked me a weird question. He said, "Do you know who Jimmy Mosley is?" And I said, "Yeah, he's a senior at Northwest, right?" And Mr. White said, "Yep, he's a senior." And I knew that he was like the 6th or 7th man for the Northwest class of Knights basketball team as a senior. I really only knew about him because he was dating the daughter of my mother's best friend, Her name was Talisa Rose. Jimmy Mosley was dating Talisa Rose. So that's the only way I really knew of him, even though I watched a lot of those games because he didn't play all that much. I did know who Jimmy Mosley was. So Mr. White told me that when Jimmy Mosley was in 8th grade at Taft, that he was just faster and more skilled than anyone else. Mr. White said to me, Jimmy was something here at Taft. He just outrun everyone down the court. Then at Northwest, everyone caught up to him, and now he kind of left it hanging in the air. Mr. White shook his head and gave me a knowing smile. Mr. White was predicting my future, unfortunately, correctly predicting my future. And I've actually often wondered why he would say such a cruel thing to me at that moment when I was riding highest. Was he trying to warn me? Or just deflate me, humble me, put me in my place? I don't know. I went home that night. Again, I didn't have anybody to talk to. Didn't have a big brother, didn't have a father. So I thought about it, and then I just shook it off, and I thought, you're just jealous. I knew what he was saying, but I just didn't buy it. I mean, how could I? So at the end of that school year in 8th grade, I was chosen Athlete of the Year at Taft Junior High School with 1,500 kids there. And that summer at a basketball camp in Oklahoma City for kids from all over Texas and Oklahoma, I was selected the most valuable player at that camp at McGinnis High School, where I actually wound up taking my SAT that fortunately got me into Vanderbilt University because I was going to need it. But in 9th grade, the legendary coach across the street at Northwest named Don Van Poel thought so much of the 9th grade talent on our team that for the first time in his lengthy career, he actually coached the freshman team as well as the varsity team. And there was one in the middle that was a junior varsity team, a B team. But he coached the freshman and the varsity. But from day one, Don Van Poel just did not like my game. I shot too much, especially from deep. I was run and gun. I was a little wild. I'd try just about anything. He was meat and potatoes, descended from the Henry Iba ranks at Oklahoma State, where he actually played football. Just didn't like my style, didn't like my game. I don't think he liked me. I wound up having 3 miserable basketball years, but I thought that as I went into my senior year, I just thought I'm still better than anybody else. I was still going to be a starter my senior year, so I thought, until Don Van Poel transferred in for that year. His son, Donnie Van Poel, transferred in from Southeast High School to Northwest, and Donnie started over me from the start that year. I did start 3 games my senior year, but mostly, as predicted, I was the 6th or 7th man. Mr. White was right, dead right. I peaked in 8th grade at Taft Junior High School. But man, what a year that was. At least for 1 year, I got to walk those crowded halls at Taft Junior High School and feel what it felt like to be a basketball star 8 days a week.